Hey guys, Ben from Nick and Ben's Fishing Adventures here. Nick and I have been fishing for a long time before we started recording things with the GoPro. And we've got a lot of good fishing stories. And I wanted to take a little time today and tell one of those stories about how I caught a big northern pike on a really little Ned rig. So if you're not familiar with what a Ned rig is, I'll just give you a very brief explanation. It's this little guy right here. It's kind of like a miniature stick bait. And it's like less than 3 inches long. This is the Z-Man TRD. Probably the most popular Ned rig out there. And what you do is you take a really tiny jig head. And we're talking 1/16 ounce, maybe 1/10 ounce. And you can get a little bigger if you're fishing deeper water. And you just thread that guy on there. And you're good to go. That's the Ned rig. You put it on ultralight line, spinning rod, and you throw it out. There's a lot of different ways to retrieve it. I'll put a link in the description on the video on how to fish the Ned rig. There's tons of information out there because about 5 years ago, this rig took the bass fishing world by storm. Every popular YouTuber, fishing guides, and even professionals used the little Ned rig. So when I found this or saw this online, I definitely wanted to try it. But I ran into a bit of a problem because there's an exposed hook. I kept getting snagged, I would get hung up, and I was just frustrated. I had to retie all the time or that little hook bent out. So for me, I went online and I found this little guy right here. And it's been an absolute game changer for me. This is the Owner Ultra Finesse ball head jig. And if you look closely, you can see that it's got a little offset hook on there. And what it allows you to do is rig your bait weedless, kind of like a Texas rig. And it's been an absolute game changer for me because I can throw it in grass, I can throw it around trees or rocks, and it's really difficult to get snagged when you rig it up. This is a really small size. It's a 1/16 ounce with a size 1 hook, and it fits almost every small Ned rig bait perfectly, and I really like it. And I've got the bait tied on from my story. The bait from my story is this bait right here. I've taken that exact same jig head and I've put on there a bait. It's called the Trick Shot. It's made by Z-Man. Trick Shot Z, it's designed for drop shotting, but I've got it tied on the Ned rig. I did make a small modification. I cut out a piece of the bottom, so I've got a little more of a gap in there, so I get a better hookup ratio. And I've taken some super glue and glued it onto my jig head so it'll stay on there and it's super durable. These Z-Man baits are made of elastic. Look at that. I mean, they're unbelievably durable and they float also. So what happens then is when the Ned rig's on the bottom, this tail floats up and just kind of shimmies a little bit and entices fish to bite. One of the main things that's made the Ned rig so famous is that you can have a day where it's really tough fishing. You can't really get anything to bite with traditional bass fishing lures. And you throw this thing on and it can change your day instantly. All of a sudden fish start hammering it. And you can go from catching nothing and having a slow day to it saving the day and you catch 20, 30, 40 fish or more. I've had a day where I caught 100 bass in one day on it. And it doesn't happen all the time, but it definitely does happen. So the story begins of how I caught the big northern. I work in agriculture. It was when I was living up in Minnesota, and I was out visiting a farmer at the end of the day. And he happened to live by the lake where it's one of my favorite bass fishing spots up there. And so I decided to stop after, it was pretty late in the day, after hours. I decided to stop at the lake and do a little fishing from shore. And I first tried a spinner bait and some swim jigs and moving baits, and the fish were very aggressive that day. The pike were just hammering about anything I threw out there, which is pretty fun, but I was really in searching for a big largemouth bass. So I decided to try to tie on the Ned rig. And I remember throwing it out there, and really, it was right away. Must have been in the first few casts. My line all of a sudden started to move. So I set the hook, and my bail just instantly started running. Pulling line right off my bail. And I thought, okay, well, this is interesting. And I fought the fish for a while and got it pretty close, and I saw that it was a big pike. And I thought, well, this is going to be kind of tricky to land. So I really took my time with it, and I'd get the fish close, and then it would take off and pull bail. I'd get it close, and it'd take off and pull bail. And this process probably went on for quite a while. I pulled out my cell phone, took a few videos. Here's what it looked like. All right, I got Ned Rig versus Big Northern. Let's see what happens. I'll try to get him in. It's gonna be tough. So this process went on for probably 10-15 minutes. I bet about 15 minutes. And finally, the fish was extremely tired. It was just tired out, and I got it right next to me. All right, I'm gonna take a chance at grabbing him here. He's pretty big. And I got it in, I reached down, grabbed it out of the water and pulled it on shore, and the rest is history. I set my phone down and tried to get the best pictures and videos that I could, and here's the fish. Big Northern. Let's see if I can get him up. I got a big fish on a small bait. Look at that Northern. He's big. Gonna get a measurement and let him go. What a fun fight. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. Nick and I really appreciate it. If you like this video or you want to hear more stories like this, let us know down in the comments. Make sure and hit the subscribe button so you can see what we're up to here fishing in Iowa. And thanks for watching. See you next time.